believe we may be. Let me go to my channel and make sure that everything is going good. See how. See if this is going to appear on my channel. See what the sound quality is. All right, cool. Yeah, that sounds good to me. All right. So we are. Uh, there we go. All right, should be up to snuff on that. So, looking, guys. First video I've done in a long time for the Fellowship of the Ring Protection series. Quality is going to be terrible, but you know, is what it is. Hopefully, we'll have that taken care of soon. Uh, so things I've been working on. I've been running games for family members whenever I have time. My online games are still kind of on hiatus, and hopefully we'll be gaming again. I'm hoping by fall. So something I've checked out recently, and I wish I would have brought the other books in, but I started checking that out because I got on OD&D kick, and that's probably the most. Even though I have the OD&D PDFs, um, I don't have them printed off, so hopefully I can eventually print those off. But white box is really good alternative for if you want something that's already printed and it's cheap. So and it's like basic fantasy in that sense, in that it's printed at it's at cost. So like it's not a very expensive buy at all. You can buy several books, just like you could with basic fantasy. Still have not checked out the basic fantasy excuse me rules for fourth edition, but you know what? We're online, and even though I'm not going to order a hard copy yet, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to download the new rules, and we'll probably talk about them. Okay, having a little problem with my connection. There we go. I don't have Wi-Fi. I'm using the data on my phone, and I've got my phone connected to my laptop. And there we go. On the basic fantasy site. Where's the current version? This is, here we go, fourth edition. Once my computer decides to load, what I should have done instead. Okay, let's try again. Downloads. And they've re-released a lot of their supplements and modules for fourth edition. That's not doing what I want it to do. I don't know. It gives me an option to download. It's not giving me an option to download. Now, okay, maybe, okay, technical difficulties. I don't know why it keeps wanting to. Uh, if it would just let me download. Well, anyways, I'm going to simply um, talk about stuff then. I can't get this work right now. So, um, working in my free time, there's a dungeon my brother is currently going through. So, I am still in the hobby, still doing some things in my free time. Um, just kind of piddling about mostly, live stuff and all that. So, really, my games, if I play at all, are limited to my family members. Um, right now, um, my basic fantasy campaigns are kind of on hold until I get all that squared away. Um, I am to, even though this particular game I'm running with little brother is done with this, I am going to convert it to basic fantasy stuff, uh, so that anybody who wants to play it with basic fantasy can play it with basic fantasy, um, which it won't be too big of a rules change anyway. I think the key difference is that hit dice in white box is all d6, um, whereas players in basic fantasy have d4, d6, and d8, and monsters, unless otherwise specified by their stat blocks, are a d8. Um, so I don't know, kind of what I've seen going on with the hobby at large since I've been away. Um, I think it's getting better, because it seems like even though you still have certain elements that are still like the political side of things, people are kind of sick of it. So don't get me wrong, you're going to have people like me who'll kind of talk about their politics occasionally. It's not like it makes up the whole identity of their channel or the whole identity of their games or anything like that. Like my games are apolitical. It doesn't matter what your political leanings are. Um, that it's not going to come up in the game. Um, and I think, and of course, that's a good thing because people are getting sick and of it, and on both sides of the argument too. So like, it's not just like people are sick of the extreme left or the extreme right. It's both. People are sick of both because at the end of the day, what'd you come for the hobby for? To play a game or um, to hear somebody give a dissertation about um, the how orcs are analogous with whatever minority group. You know what I mean? So people are sick of it. People are some of the more extreme people are getting out of the hobby now. Of course, people have been posting a lot of stuff that Watsy says. I could care less about Watsy. Like they've been this way for a while. Does it really surprise you? So like we stay away from Watsy. I just do. Um, I've been a little bit more active on social media than I have in the past. Um, So let me see if I can't. Let me see if I can't get on some page. See if we can't talk about something. Sorry, guys, it's been a while, so I'm understand there's some growing pains. I'm trying to fall back into it a little bit. I haven't done this in a long time, so I'm just gonna go to my personal Facebook. Um, let's go check out Dungeon Master Resources. What's on there today? Which this group is one I found recently, like a few weeks ago, and it's you can definitely find some dumpster fire takes on this one. I have a sneaking suspicion once the page loads that the majority of the people on this in this group are not actually like dungeon or game masters. That they are um, players that feel like they have to make their entitlement complex known because certain posts get the most irrational response that you could possibly give to somebody. Let's see if we can't get page load. There we go. Okay. Okay. So love the which I don't have very many viewers right now, but if they want to jump on, uh, let me make it real quick. Just a little placeholder comment. There we go. So here's a question right here. Here's a post. I'm running a campaign that involves the Feywild opening gates to the planar realm in an effort to turn it into the Fey itself. I'm kind of blanking on a reason to do such a thing, though. I'm more or less looking for a backstory to it, and maybe some Fey monsters. I have all the time of beast monster manuals and Volo's guide if this helps. So, okay. And most of these posts are 5e, but a lot of the times I can respond in a way that's kind of system agnostic. So why would the Feywilds open the gates to the planar realm to turn it into the Fey itself? Well, I don't run a lot of Feywild stuff, but if I did, I would probably like the Feywilds and the concept of them can be kind of considered as like some sort of really chaotic mess of magical creatures and stuff like that. And so basically, I know this doesn't seem like much of a response because like I'm kind of out of my element on this one, and I'll admit that. Um, you could always have like an NPC or something like a bad guy. You absolutely have to have one or whatever, like a cult or something like that that wants to like they think the planar world is a mundane, corrupt place, and that the Feywilds are like a more pure version of the world in which they inhabit or in which they envision. So, I mean, that's just a very basic cut to the chase kind of response. But obviously I'm out of my element. Okay, anonymous participant. These are the posts I like because these turn into a dumpster fire very fast. Don't know if this is asking advice or just ranting, maybe both. I know it's a trend with this one particular group of players where the PCs are so very egocentric. They expect all the NPCs to do everything for them and give them everything. Like there will be a quest that leads them to an official, like a mayor or general, or this even pertains to shopkeepers, and the PCs are all quote. You need to tell us all your secrets or classified information if you want us to help you. End quote. And the NPC is all. I don't even know who you are. Why should I break the rules for you? And then the PCs are all. Wow, what a racist idiot. And then they abandon the quest. It's not always racist, but there's always an insult, and that's the most common. I guess I'm still learning how to balance given the giving the players necessary information to play the game with realistic and immersive NPC response interaction. Now, this is probably just a crap post. Uh, but obviously, my response would be, this group sucks. Find another. So I usually look for the ones with laugh reacts because that's the ones that typically mean they have a dumpster fire going on. Uh, I'm going to look for more anonymous posts because that's the ones that are okay. Because these are the ones that usually devolve very quick from rational discussion into crap city. Anonymous participant says, I may have done something petty. Two players didn't make it to D&D this week. One was because he was too drunk, and one was because they were sleeping. This isn't the first time this has happened. The group was about to embark on a pretty big event and fight multiple battles. They all leveled up to level 4 last week in preparation. The other two players and I waited for one of them to get back with us and never did. I decided that the two players that actually showed up should get the reward, so I let them level up to 5. In hindsight, I should have just given them a cool magic item or some sort of inspiration dice and not a full level. But I was really mad, particularly at the drunk player for wasting our time, and it was completely avoidable, especially since last session one of the players showed up, gifted the group uh, the player's handbook to use. Should I be condemned or am I overthinking it? Edit to add. I've already decided that they are going to keep their level, but if everyone shows up after the session, they will also get to level 5. The ones who are already 5 will still get the same XP as the others, plus a level 5 spell bottle of their choice. Thanks for the info, folks. So my response to this is, now this one doesn't have life reacts. It seems like everybody is pretty chill, and they turn off the comments, so I can't comment. Not on this post anyway. But okay, so the anonymous participant, if I had to talk to you, no, what you did was totally right. I run, now granted, like caveat is I run game systems where you have asymmetrical leveling all the time. If the group gets 2,000 XP, the thief and the fighter will level up, and the cleric will level up, but the magic user will still be behind, right? So but the magic user is going to be, he's not going to be too far away. Just as an example, right? So I run asymmetrical leveling all the time. So that kind of keeps everything. So keep that in mind that because I run those systems, when somebody's level 5 and somebody's level 3 or 4, like it's not considered as unfair because they know the mechanic of the leveling. So it's cool. But yeah, generally speaking, I only reward people that show up. This is actually one of the reasons why I think level 0 or session 0 is not a bad idea. Um, Session 0 shouldn't exist for some of the various different garbage you see out, but like level 0 should be for establishing what kind of feel for the game you're going to have and what the mortality rate is, like how deadly you see it being, that you can rationally predict. Okay. Uh, and Session Zero is also for, in addition to like class and race restrictions or allowance and homebrew stuff and house rules and whatever. Session Zero also exists for establishing common courtesy laws. So like it's common courtesy that if you're not going to be able to make the game, you let somebody know that you're not going to make the game. And something that I feel like the current culture of the hobby is that people feel entitled to certain things even when they put the bare minimum in. And in this case, you have two players that didn't even put the bare minimum in. Now, somebody who works night shift and I sleep during the day, um, I think if somebody in my situation explained that to somebody, which that would be a scheduling issue, but if somebody was in my situation, like, hey, look, I had a really rough night at work yesterday, or whatever, like, you can work around that, no hard feelings. Still not going to get the XP if you can't make it, but whatever. It's not in bad intent. Whereas I got drunk last night and I'm pretty hungover. That's not, like I have very. If you're not going to make it, say so. So no, OP did nothing wrong. Uh, they're probably playing 5e, I'm sure. But yeah, if you want the level, show up. Let's find another one. Okay, so this has to do with like a style of play, not necessarily like an addition thing. So, hey, Hive Mind. So I guess this is a slight rant, but I feel bad for doing this as it's a new DM that it's about. We had our first session, and they decided that each player was going to have traits. So I got told mine, which are so okay. You didn't choose, but okay, that's fine. You don't even get to choose your stats most of the time. So I got told mine, which are my character is petrified of small spiders to the point if one is in sight, I stop whatever I'm doing and try to kill it, which is something the DM can throw in at any time and completely disrupt combat or an interaction for me. Okay, now first I'm gonna stop for a minute. Um, on paper, this sounds like okay for a role playing thing. When it comes to combat, this sounds like this is going to suck because it's going to slow combat to a crawl, and it sounds like you're going to be wasting a turn if if the if the ref happens to throw a spider out on the field somewhere. So, not really a huge fan of this. Excuse me. I understand why they're doing it. They want to add personality to the characters. It works good in a role playing thing, but not for a combat thing. That's what I'm trying to get at. The others, apparently, I'm very clumsy and struggle to land from falls, jumps, etc. However, I'm a rogue, and the DM hasn't said I'm disadvantaged on dex or dex checks, which I'm glad about. But then, also just feels pointless to have in the first place. I agree. Like this only really is relevant if you don't run advantage or disadvantage on checks. So, um, yeah, this and why? Okay, so from a role playing perspective, why would a thief who is notoriously clumsy become a thief to begin with? So it makes no sense to me why you would do that. Verisimilitude and all that. Like I get like trying to work with wacky character builds, quote, um, but I don't see the point in. I don't see the point in doing that. There's some other questionable ones for other players, which also massively affect gameplay, and I'm just a little unsure how to go about this. I don't want to bring it up almost in I don't want to bring it up almost in case I put the DM off DMing, as other than a couple other things that will get better with practice. It was a decent session. Okay, and that's fine. I'm keeping in mind that this is a new DM, and they have a vision for how they want their world to work and how the characters work. I understand that, but this it's kind of like a red herring, like you're detracting from the game because it's massively affecting gameplay. And in my opinion, if you're going to house rule something or do what some people call rule zero should add to the game, not subtract from it. If you are making combat longer, you are subtracting from the game. Like, don't needlessly complicate things. A good example of rule zero done right, in my opinion, is I use Dave Arneson's Blackmore tables in my started using them recently in my games. The disease tables and the hit location tables. They add to the game. They don't take away. You can actually kill something quicker or slower. Combat can also take a turn, like certain monsters, like insectoids, will run around randomly if their head is chopped off. They'll eventually die, but but you've got this time bomb of unpredictability running around. Anyway, also, to start a dialogue rather than just complaining, I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on this. Mine are that traits like this are completely fine, but it should be a player asking DM if they can implement them on their own specific characters in a case to case scenario, rather than the DM enforcing it on every player. Okay, so this depends. If the DM is really hardcore about using this, if I was in this scenario and I was going to use this, if I was going to thrust it upon the players, I would roll on the table. If I was going to let the players choose, I would have them roll on the table 3, 4, maybe 5 times, and then choose one out of the 4 or 5 times, so that they at least had a choice in what wouldn't destroy. Because interrupting combat for Spider is really terrible, in my opinion. But this again is a new DM, not a lot of experience. They saw this nifty, cool toy that they could throw in their game, and it, they're in love with it for a minute. It's that new toy. It's that recency bias. It's that new toy feeling that you had when you were a kid. You got this shiny new thing, and then in a week you're going to get sick of it. Edit. I think this stems from the fact that okay, so the DM is a she, has only played one campaign before, and her partner is the DM. And he gave all of us players a trait too. But mine, for example, is I picked up languages very quickly, so it was a mini buff as such. So I think she has taken it that it's really fun thing to do slash something you should do, but all of these are negative traits, and we were just told about it separately during session zero. Okay, if okay, so what I would do is I would make a table of positive and negative traits. Roll on the positive, roll on the negative. And this is something I would talk about in session zero. You're going to have traits. You're going to have one positive, one negative. Um, this is easily fixed. We also weren't. Um, my charger for my thinking laptop quit. There we go. Second edit. We also weren't allowed to roll characters. We had to use point buy, which I'm not a fan of anyway. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of point buy. I like the randomness of rolling, but as a rogue, I dumped an 8 in strength, so now my unarmed attacks do no damage, which means for me to kill a spider, I have to draw a weapon or get to some degree, which could really harm, disrupt RP situations. Yeah, that's terrible. It's actually kind of why I like OD&D's way of penalties and bonuses. You have to roll really low for a penalty and roll really high for a bonus. But the average is in the middle. So you're more likely always going to be able to do damage with an unarmed attack at least, unless you roll like a 3 to 6 in strength or something, which is very rare. I it does seem pretty rough. Here's how I would would use this. Compile 2 tables of positive and negative traits respectively. Roll 3 to 5 on each table and give the PCs a choice of one from each result from these tables. I wouldn't run this at all. It's not my style, but this can be salvaged. Here's an interesting question, more on the philosophical side of gaming, right? Does anyone use Donjon for random generation? Would you consider a random generated dungeon from Donjon to be AI? I'm curious where people fall on this. If you haven't seen it before, Donjon is a very helpful online resource that has random generation for damn near everything TTRPG. No, I don't consider it AI. No more than rolling 3d6 for stats. So, um, to my acknowledge, to my knowledge, acknowledge. I had a rough night at work last night. Give me a break. Anyway, to my knowledge, Donjon has certain resources that it pulls from to generate such randomness, and it's done so through a table. You're literally just taking um, the manpower out of something and like whipping up something very fast, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing. So let's see what else we got going on. So I'm running Lost Mines of Fandelver campaign for the second time in my life. TPK at level 1. That was interesting. It happens. You were playing a game with dice, and the dice said failure. It happens. Anyone want to mentor me so I could be a good DM? Um, no, you don't need a mentor. There's plenty of resources, and like the best experience is to just do it, just jump in. Lord knows I was terrible when I started out, and then I got better over time. And I've not been in the hobby that long, and I've not made that a secret. Like when I make these videos, I don't make them like I don't have the hubris to assume that I know more than somebody else. I'm not that stuck up in myself. Um, I just give my interpretation on rules and rulings, and that's pretty much it. Like, and I just got a following because of it. want to look for more. Where's the more? Okay, here's one with left react. So I'm hoping that this is a dumpster fire. Okay, never mind. 5e, and they're talking about subclass mechanics. No, I don't know. No. Okay, so okay, I see left reactions. Make sure that there's okay, cool. So like I can give a reasonably system agnostic interpretation here. Any charges? I've given up dipping, by the way. So yeah, I don't dip or chew anymore. It's starting to get expensive. Everything's getting expensive, and um, let's say I had a health scare about it. So like inside my jaw don't look. It's not cancer, but like it worried me for a bit. Question for my fellow GMs. I recently had my party come upon a pool of mutagenic ichor, and the paladin told the wizard to throw a random mushroom in it. So out, so next out of the ooze crawled a tiny screamer mushroom. Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm cool with that. That was calling him Dad Dad. Okay. And clinging to his boot, he was going to kill it until I said he looks at you with the most love any creature can have, save for a parent. So now he totes the mushroom along with him wherever he goes, wherever he grows. I think he means wherever he goes. There's some typos in this. It's making it hard for me to read, but I'm trying to interpret it best I can. My idea is to have it grow a little larger every couple sessions until he can eventually use it in combat or ride it as a mount, and then have it killed by the BBEG to invoke hatred. No, don't plan that. Don't plan that. No, I hate that cinematic crap. I really do. Like if the BBEG kills it, it should be killed in combat. Like why would a BBEG even bother with that thing? So no, let's cut that. Uh, so no. If it dies in combat. I hate this cinematic stuff of giving PCs gifts only to take it away because story. The rest of this is fine, though. I actually like this idea. I know it sounds like it's cutesy and stuff like that, but like it's fantasy. So like, oh, they found a mutagenic ichor. It transformed a mushroom into a sentient being, which is horrifying. Does it have a soul? Does Mushroom Man have soul? Will he become a real boy? Can it learn love? Well, it's loving him right now, so like obviously, it has like a form of sentience and self awareness to some degree. So yeah, if it dies in combat. I hate the cinematic stuff of giving PCs it's only take away because my story. The rest of this is fine though. So there's my response. Okay. Okay, here's some general GM advice. Okay. Apologies for such a large request in advance. I will be starting a D&D club for 13 to 15-year-olds. Ooh, Lord. God bless you, lassie. In a few weeks. We will convene once a week. I've never DM'd. Okay. That's fine. You can learn. and this is a good learning experience because I'm sure they've never played, but have long wished to do so. I possess creativity, arithmetic skills, some basic storytellers know how, and pedagogic skills. I'm going to go ahead and tell you you're already overqualified. You really don't need those things. A book, some rules, and some basic math is all you need. But you're on the right track. Just don't get too full of yourself. Don't overestimate yourself. You're not as good as you think you can be. That's my. I still make mistakes. All of us do. I like a DM's experience and all the concrete, practical know-how. I don't mind reading a lot or putting effort into world lore creation, but everything ready-made helps. Okay, that's fine. If you want to use modules, use modules. That's what they're there for. Thus, I ask, please advise me with free online content, tips, tacit knowledge, how my DMing game loop goes, and whatever comes to your mind. Remember this, remember that. I already have in mind roll 20 for dice rolls. How should I deal with character sheets, both for myself and to keep track of the players and for team players themselves to use? What else could I keep open on main or secondary screen? I deeply appreciate thorough answers and will share our stories when time comes. Thank you. I like handwritten sheets better than I do digital, but if you're going to do digital, you can literally do it like with a rich text document. Have them send it. I had a group. That's what we did. We didn't use. Um, we tried using Google Docs, and that was fine, but it seemed like it needlessly overcomplicated the process when like you just go to like the Word document on a computer and type it out, and then like just send it through a private message to somebody. Like so. Um, if you're not going to go the handwritten route, run a pirate theme one shot tomorrow for 9 to 13 year olds. I have some ideas for adventure about like some extra ideas, especially funny, unique plots. Add in. Add in animals. Kids love animals. My girl does. Okay, anonymous participant. Anyone else who plays out encounters using their players' PCs due to not being able to play yourselves or getting a feel for the encounter difficulty? I've done that, yeah. Um, if I didn't want a fight to be too hard and to be reasonably um, reasonably passable, I would occasionally do that. Um, I used to do it. I don't do it much now because I kind of got out of that idea of hack and slash. Like, always remind them that running away is an option. Okay, so okay, here's John 5e mechanics. Hey, fellow DMs, I have a question. What do y'all do or go off of to bouncing counters? Balance. What? Balance. What? Okay. Okay. Here's one. Here's one that's pretty system agnostic. This would be considered like an appendix N. Hello, all. I'm looking for inspirational sources to create adventures in Tolkien's Middle Earth setting. System doesn't really matter. I do use a couple different ones. I love reading regional guides and so much stuff. But now I'm more interested in something like a website where fans can, well, use a wiki. Use a wiki if you're wanting to build this from the ground up and like because otherwise like my answer would be just get the One Ring and run that. But if you're going to build something that has a similar feel, like consult the wiki. I used to have the Tolkien dictionary uh, once upon a time, and I lost it. I remember being inspired just by looking at the drawings because the drawings were so uh, cool. Need a cursed item placed in the Underdark, maybe a weapon. Yeah, weapon or an armor. put in like plate mail, but it actually gives them like an AC of 11 if you're using ascending armor class. Okay, this one's really railroady, so I'm skipping over it. No. Let's see how. That one is also very 5e specific, so I'm going to skip over that. That's out my wheelhouse. Okay. If you're in my game, you didn't see this. Okay. I'm not in your game, so I can see this. What kind of guns do you guys think would be passable in a D&D setting? Evil country is in a revolt. The military are being sent out to destroy towns. Need weapon ideas. Aside from standard melee weapons. Black powder has been a thing for thousands of years. Firearms are actually much older than people realize. You can't go wrong with a blunderbuss or a flintlock pistol. But get creative. Do you want magic guns? Do you want sentient guns? Now's your time to shine. Yes, I try to be. I try to be as encourage. Like I try to encourage people, and I try to be inspirational when I can. Do some research and just go wild. I'm a firearms guy anyway. And that's not really relevant, so we'll throw that out. From personal experience, you could get uh, ricochets are scary. Angle your steel, folks. There we go. The black powder has been a thing for thousands of years. Firearms are actually much older than people realize. You can't go wrong with a blunderbuss or a flintlock pistol, but get creative. Do you want magic guns? Do you want sentient guns? I mean, think about it. We have sentient swords and magical swords. Why not a gun? the Glock of the gods. Uh, Now's your time to shine. Do some research and just go wild. From personal experience, ricochets are scary. Angle your steel targets, folks. And yes, I know that from personal experience. It's very scary to have even a pistol round come whizzing right back at you because you didn't angle your steel target right. You can play with that as a mechanic too. Also, if you want to see the biggest the biggest uh, butt pucker video ever, simply look up 50 BMG Ricochet. That's the scariest thing I've ever seen. Dude shoots hundreds of yards downrange with a 50 BMG, which is an anti-tank rifle, really, and it hits the ground and it comes back and you hear it whistling. And he's got headphones on because hearing protection, and it clips the left earpiece and it shears it right off his head. Like he was just fraction of inches from having brain soup. Now this one is actually one I responded to last night because this is when I say that you have a bunch of slighted players. I'm sure make up the bulk of the members. It's actually very telling on who's actually GM and who's not. So, hi everyone. I was hoping I could get your opinions on something that happened in the game that I've been running. The party recently hit level 8, and I've been trying to up the difficulty a bit. And that's understandable. I'm guessing you're playing 5e, and it's already kind of hard to kill them at level 3. Still stand a realistic chance, but after like level 5, it's super difficult. Like, I'll make this relevant here in a little bit. With harder encounters, more intelligent creatures than that plan and lay traps. One of these traps led to the sudden death of a party member, and I want to know if this is unfair or cruel in the eyes of the DMs or players. So the party arrived in a new dimension where they had to fight off a difficult encounter against a bunch of gargoyles and homebrew mini beholders, which they barely managed to scrape through and start looking for a place to camp out for a long rest. So already they had a bad fight, and now they've got to make a risky decision on taking a long rest, try to recover spell slots and HP. They find a tower that they have been informed is a good place to rest by a native NPC they've become allied with, and they check it out for signs of other life/danger. The ranger finds creature prints, though they can't identify the exact creature. Okay, so like they see footprints or some claw marks, excuse me, that lead into the building, but none of that come back out. Oh, none that come back out. Okay, so like they can see going in, but nothing's coming out. I got you. So like something is making its home here. They then check each of the floors up to the fourth level and find a bedroll and some rotting food that is a few days old, but don't proceed higher in the tower because it is mostly rubble and difficult to navigate. Smart decision. Note that there is also a gravity distortion effect as you go up higher in this dimension, causing creatures to move slower and slower. Okay, so like it's like adding like exhaustion, making them feel heavier. As they only had 50 feet of rope, they weren't keen on risking someone going higher than the rope they had tethered to the ground floor and potentially slowing to a stop beyond help. Yeah, because the rope could snap as the gravity increases and makes everything heavier. I got you. The party decided to camp for their long rest on the ground floor and chose the order of their watch. The druid goes first on watch, and I asked them what they do while they watch. They mentioned that they sit facing the staircase leading up the tower, but but also want to try and identifying the new potions they found earlier in the session. There's your There's the mistake. So uh, I didn't read this whole thing in detail, but like I got the gist of it. So now that I'm reading the details, okay, that was a bad idea. Understand, identify because I played a wizard. I play a wizard in 5e, and but I only identify things in civilization because of this, because it can be risky to do that because you can fall asleep or whatever. While they do this, I have them roll a standard perception check. I would have given them advantage if they didn't take the time to inspect their potions. Exactly. They made this decision, which they fail as the intellect devourer that was hiding in the upper ruin sneaks its way down the stairs past them to the sleeping party. I then had each of the party member rolls for perception with disadvantage as they were sleeping, but they all also fail. Finally, the intellect devourer reaches the barbarian. So, bard slash barbarian. I hate this. I hate bards anyway, but um, that's why I don't allow them in my games. Um, but whatever. Balthazar is the character's name, and attempts its body snatcher attack on the incapacitated party member. Yeah, because he's asleep. As the two interact in Balthazar's dream and engage in the contested intelligence check, which the party member loses, causing the intellect devourer to replace their brain and instantly kill them. Everyone was really shocked by this, and I spoke to the player after the end of the session. They found it unfair that they died suddenly in that way. Well, it sounds like you should have. It sounds like that you, in my opinion, if you were going to be that butthurt about it, go after the druid who should have been keeping watch. I thought I had given them fair clues. You did. An opportunity to notice the creature. You did. But as it came down to just a one hit kill attack and bad dice rolls, it happens. You're playing a game with dice. I do get their point, and it feels very cruel to me. They're level 8. I'm thinking I'll change it so that their brain has just been pushed out of the driver's seat and into remote viewing, like in the film Get Out, so as to give them and the party a chance to remove the intellect devourer and save Balthazar. Okay, that just, no, I wouldn't do that. Balthazar is dead. Plus, level 8, so, like, you can find somebody with Revivify, surely. I guess what I really want to know is whether any other DMs have done this kind of trap, or if I did create an encounter that was unfair on the players. As DM, would you be lenient and undo the instant kill effect of this ability? Thanks for reading it and for any feedback. No, I wouldn't do away with the instant kill. If okay, so death sucks. I get that. Especially a level 8 character. You've had them for a while. It's just like my character in my buddy's 5e campaign is a level 9 evocation wizard. If he was to die, yeah, that would suck. But roll a new character. It's not that big of a deal. It's just like if Nicodemus Theoron, which is my character's name, perished at level 9, it would suck, but at the same time, like he had a lot of adventures and he had a lot of good moments. I killed a lich with one fireball. That is that like I got to Nicodemus's greatest story will be that I cast fireball at a lich because we were running an encounter and the battle was supposed to be. I think the DM said that because he has a tendency to buff things because he knows how powerful we are and how broken we can be, so he buffs things accordingly, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So he ended up fighting fighting us with a lich. Originally, it was going to be like an undead magic user of some kind, not an actual lich, but he upgraded it to a lich. I think he said that he upgraded to Lich, which already gave it more HP, but he decided to keep it on the lower end of the HP pool because, like, it's still Lich. So, like, he didn't think we could handle like a fully fledged, like tens, like like hundreds of hit points Lich. He didn't think we could handle that, which we probably couldn't. So, but I killed it with one fireball because my lucky roll, everything went right for me. Statistically speaking, it is almost impossible to roll up. I think it's higher than 37 damage on a fireball in 5e. I rolled 40. And then the Lich failed his dex save and took the full effect of the fireball, and it killed him in one hit. So I know it had 48 40 HP. So um, I killed it, and it was potentially a deadly encounter, but it wasn't. And everything went right for me in that session. Like I befriended his little spectator friend and everything. Like I lied to him and told him like his master said that your duty is complete. You may return to your realm and this, that, and everything else. He goes, oh, well, that's nice. Oh, did you meet Master? Yeah, he's a cool guy. He let us go ahead and pass through, and I had really good checks to try to convince this guy. In addition to the fireball, that was the best session Nicodemus ever had. And if he died, that would be his legacy. And it's one that I could say, yeah, he can hang his hat on that. So get over it. It's a game. Characters die. Like if you don't want your characters to die, don't play a game with HP and dice rolling. So no, I wouldn't get rid of the insta kill. I would keep the insta kill. Balthasar is dead. At level 8, I'm sure they have a cleric with a revivify. It's not that big of a deal. Anybody ever try 6 plus 3d4 for stats? Nope. No, 3d6 down the line, no reroll on ones. Okay, here's an interesting one. This may have already been addressed, but what's the general opinion of liches using power word kill on PCs? They would. They're a lich. That liches are undead, insane magic users that pledge themselves to undeath to gain knowledge, and it drove them insane. And they can plan around things. They can make plans. They have that much left of themselves to make plans, so that they're not totally insane. But yeah, if a lich has a if, okay, I live by the mantra: if you would let your players have it, then you should let your monsters have it. If a lich if a lich has power word kill and knows power word kill, it'll use power word kill. So yeah, this is a long post. I'm skipping it. I was like, oh, that sounds cool, and I was like, no, long. In a long fight, how do people describe attacks that miss? You have long fights. Okay, no, I'm being sarcastic because I have had long fights simply because the body's on the field, not necessarily because people had a lot of HP. Although, if you're running 25 kobolds, I suppose that's one monster with 25 hit dice worth of HP, if you want to consider it that way. End up repeating myself. The attack doesn't get through. I'm colorful. I'm after a colorful way to describe it. So players uneventful turn doesn't. It's a game. It's not narration. Beating yourself up over nothing. If the attack misses, it misses. I've done that in the past. Like, oh, you block it just in time with your shield or something like that. Like you parry it with your sword or something like that. I've done that. There's no big. Like I can't find a chink in the armor. So like I get it. I understand. Sometimes just saying it misses work, so don't beat yourself up about it. It's not terrible. Okay. Okay. I need some DM help. Recently, I had a player death, three failed death saves, and on the third fail, I did what I feel like was a great cutaway and lore building, and allowed my player to take up the mantle of a god that he was a paladin for. My player's kingdom worshipped two gods that had been corrupted, like DOS2, permanently and cannot be revived or go to the afterlife and potentially be revived. He chose the mantle, and it was a great moment. He came back briefly to help end the fight and say goodbye. It was a great end to a character after 2 years of playing. However, recently that player has said he felt like he made the wrong choice as another party member was married to him, and they feel like the choice was wrong and the cleric was going to cast Revivify. So he would like his character back alive now, and I'm not sure how to handle it. Okay, so if he's going to come back, number one, I wouldn't allow him to come back. He made the choice, he's stuck with it. And if a paladin that was that faithful to his religion somehow, okay, because I don't like this style of play, but whatever. But if he chose up to take a mantle of godhood, why would he give that up from a role playing state? Because this is what, okay. I hate when people misuse the term metagaming, but this is metagaming. Would the paladin choose to come back if he was that faithful to his god? I wouldn't think he would. But now the player is trying to use outside of game knowledge. Oh, we could have just cast Revivify. Like, I get it. You wanted a narrative thing, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with wanting a narrative thing. But, yeah, like, in my opinion, this is just get over it. He died. Now, here's one I already commented on because it's funny as tar. Because this is why I try to pay attention to what people put down on their sheets. First major campaign, didn't realize, but a player broke the economy of my world. He made a rich character. I didn't realize how rich. First session, I read his sheet. He had standard starting money. I agreed to his backstory of being wealthy. Uh, yeah, I would have said no. And I didn't notice he was depositing money between sessions from his estate. Uh huh. Yeah. This is why I know you're not wealthy. You're an adventurer. Now, I would say, like, come up with a background. Like, yeah, you come from a wealthy background, but you have to strike it out on your own because inheritance laws dictate that you have to prove your worth to your family or something like that. Just riffing off the top of my head. So I'm not saying don't have a wealthy background, but don't make a wealthy character. First thing I would say is nope. I wouldn't have allowed it. There's a reason Gary didn't allow nobility as as backgrounds to player characters. So, anyways, I didn't notice he was depositing money between sessions from his estate until he didn't blink, giving an NPC a sapphire as a bribe and purchasing two 150 gold swords at level 2. Uh huh. Yeah, you see where your problem is now. Then bought the party healing spells, 3 each, party of 4. In session, I got confused at his exorbitant spending. The party rarely has been rewarded money. Yeah, this should have been a red flag. And he said, my character is over 600 years old, a highly educated professor, has been lecturing, teaching for centuries. He has an enormous estate, but he can only get money during trips to his homeland. So yes, I have 10,000 gold, but that's all I have until I go to my homeland. But let's just say he's level 5 and has at least 10,000 gold, and one of each jewel in his inventory. Okay, number one, he wouldn't, and I'll explain that in a minute. I got played. I can't bribe slash entice my players monetarily, right? Because you have a rich PC that I would promptly get rid of. I would have gotten rid of that a long time ago, and I literally had to start charging super. Because here's the thing: it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. If you can plan, if you could suddenly make your character rich, I can suddenly kill him. Two can play at that game. And you can think that's petty all you want, but that's the simple matter of fact. I wouldn't have allowed that. Not at all. Not in a million years. I got played. I can't bribe and entice my players monetarily, and I literally had to start charging super high prices to keep them from buying everything. Yeah, yeah, you see where this is going? He's caused inflation. And thousands for equipment to stop him from buying legendary gear. Yeah, you see? If he decides he doesn't want to buy anything, and the players need something, well now they're screwed because he jacked up the prices. He caused an inflation in your world. And I'm going to tell him he has to get rid of the jewels because jewels are great quest items. One of the characters almost died, and he was like, "No worries, I already have a diamond." What gold amount is fair for level 5 or 6? That's wealthy, but will reset my game's economy so I can go back to using suggested pricing in the books. Very frustrated and highly embarrassed. No, it's too late. I would have killed this dude. I would have killed that character very forthwith. I love DMing, and this guy's my best friend, but he keeps doing stuff like this every campaign we play and justifies it with his backstory. So I have to. I've been too soft on allowing stuff. This, however, broke the game, has derailed my session planning for our session tonight. So, okay, yeah, this is actually a good definition of the word derailing a campaign, because like you can even derail a sandbox like this if you're not paying attention to what your players are putting down on their sheets. This is the kind of problem you can have. I would have said nope. First and foremost, first and foremost. Okay, he's a professor and he's 600 years old and he's rich. Okay, he can only get money during trips to his homeland. Yeah. So why is he adventuring? What's he got to gain? Nothing, because he's already rich. So I would have killed this character right off the bat because if he can go behind the scenes and make up a backstory to where he basically has unlimited gold or access to 10,000 gold, I can just as easily like, well, you died. That'd probably be the one time I would fudge dice rolls. Dragon comes out of the sky, crushes you, uh, and it's a level 20 dragon, so I can do that. Thanks for thanks everyone for your responses and suggestions. I have PM'd the player. You should have done this to begin with. Let him know the wealth was causing issue. Being new, I agreed out of ignorance. Requested that he reset his wealth to a more reasonable level and remove the jewels. Player agreed his wealth was negatively impacting the game and party and agreed it could be lost, but he wanted it in game so he could role play and use it as his character fault. How's it a character fault? He once had everything, now he's broke, but he wants the finer things. Okay, I can understand that, but that's not what he started with. That's not what his like. He was just rich from the get go. So yeah, it's this dude create this dude created. So this is an edit that happened after I read it the first time. This dude creates a Department of Internal Currency Keeper Services, a fantasy IRS. Yep, yep. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I put taxes in my games, and I usually make it reasonable, like 10%. It's not too bad, and I don't do it every session. I do it like once a month. This keeps the players wanting to continue to get money, and if they want to keep coming into the city, they have to keep paying taxes. And if they don't pay taxes, they'll be arrested. And normally it's not like a death penalty, like unless like this is a really hardened criminal who just happened to have got caught for tax evasion. But I've never had that happen. But somebody doesn't pay their taxes, they get put in the stocks and they get made fun of for about a week. So they get rotten fruit and stuff thrown at them. So okay, let's just say he has 10,000 gold and each jewel in his inventory. Number one, he wouldn't. Okay, because understand that you're not running coin weight, but I do. So we'll just so 10 coins make up 1 pound, and this is very simple math. 10,000 gold. Just take the decimal at the end of the last zero and pop it over. That's 1,000 pounds of gold. And you tell me that dude had that in his pocket, just carrying it around, in addition to jewels. No, no, that would have been no. That dude would have been, yeah, that would have been nipped in the bud very quick. I've never had people try to do that in my games, but if they did, yeah. The funny part is you had players in this. Let's see some of the crappy takes. I want to see the crappy takes because you had players actually coming in and defending this, and I know they're players because no GM would would defend this behavior at all. My computer doesn't want to load up the comments, but somebody's like, "It's a starter mate. It's his background." It's like, no, I don't care. He doesn't have the fiat to do that. I have the fiat to get rid of that as much as I want. So tough luck. Not gonna happen. You're not gonna have 10,000 gold to start. That's just dumb. Like how anybody would defend that is just nauseating because you made the game not fun for anybody. Confessions of a Grognard DM. I'm not even certain what level my players are. Yeah, that about like me. The only reason I know what my players are is my players will be like, "Oh, I leveled up," after I tell them their XP. It's like, okay, cool. Next session we'll roll up hit dice. So like and like I could almost I'm pretty sure I can count on one hand uh, because Karfanek I think is level 5 and Grant I think is level 5. Gwydion I think is level 4, but he's a magic user and he spends a lot of his gold on spells, understandably so because they're out in the middle of nowhere, in Morgan's Fort, and this is the best way for him to get spells is to just keep going to the retired magic user who happens to be in town. Okay, am I the a hole? My players are upset because I stopped telling them the exact numbers or dice values for enemy attack rolls and saving throws. We had a couple of people wanting to know the values for all the attacks and if they were crits or not in advance before deciding to take reactions like shield to make all the attacks miss or specifically targeting critical hits for silvery barbs. I just feel like using meta knowledge to negate every critical hit or cause an entire series of attacks to miss is kind of BS, and it takes already very powerful first level spells way beyond what they were intended to do. Thoughts? Yeah, I agree. If you're going to use shield. You don't get to have that metagaming knowledge. Players don't get to know, like they won't get to know the value until you tell them how much HP they lose. going on about okay, more 5e crap. Like the second that you start saying subclasses and stuff like that, I can't. Okay, am I the a hole? These are some of the posts I like. I run one shots in a West March setting. As you might know, it's hard to get backstory bits into the games. I still try to. Yeah, because it's a stinking one shot. So I ran a module I adapted for my players to involve their backstories. One in particular was a fork in the road. You had to pay a toll to move forward. The toll was a memory. If they refused, they could fight the figure and face a foe that mimicked and copied each individual party member. They would have to face another enemy as a result to move forward. If they gave away memory, they moved forward with no fights and their memories twist to fit the narrative. The twist and where the problem comes in is that this individual also warps a memory with the modified memory spell. He messes with the most intrinsic points of a person for amusement, being a thrall to a devil. My party chose to give away their memories. I didn't tell them the other effect until everyone made their decision. Yeah, why should they know the effect until afterwards? Now, to the players in particular, had a huge issue with this. Get over it. The memory changed was to villainize two key figures in their backstories. Again, deal with it. They didn't like that their characters saw their memories differently and argues that it fundamentally changed their characters. How? It doesn't change their characters. It changes figures in their memories. I explained the spell and the possibility of fixing it, but one chose to take out and cure themselves. Okay, so it can be cured, so it's not a big deal. The other was still upset, but decided to play it as it happened. Yeah, deal with it. Others in my party, two were excited for the twist, and one thought it was harsh but didn't seem upset about it. He also refused the out, so he didn't take the cure. So that's on him. If he didn't like it, now he has to deal with it. Am I the a hole for doing this in game? I thought it was neat. RP driven event to mess with the players. Yeah, it's an RP driven event. It's a role playing game. It's not always about combat. When they realize something is off, yeah, that precisely. I still feel bad about it after the talk I had with them. I just want unbiased opinions to see what others thought. They'll get over it. That's my unbiased thought. Like, they'll get over it. This was something that's cool, and you had two people. Here's the deal. Something I learned. You can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all the people all the time. I've run sessions where everybody loved it. I run sessions where some people loved it, some people hated it. I've run sessions where everybody hated it. You know, it is what it is. You know, I'm not perfect, but you know, something like this. This is not how you run the game. This is here's what you put in place. And number one, it's a one shot anyway. So like, who cares? So I don't know. It, I like how this guy worded it. His comment, I like the best. It's like a choose your own adventure where you mess up and go back to the previous page. They choose memory and need to deal with the consequences of their actions. Right? It's like, yeah, that's actually a very good analogy. It's like a choose your own adventure book. So it's no big deal. It's a game. And then of course you had players in here like, yeah, you fundamentally f with their characters. And one of my responses was, how? It didn't affect the player character. It affected something in their backstory. Think and like now they wanted to ruin it because they had a problem with it when like, okay, here's for hypothetical, sitting in a tavern and one of them got this doodad that they inherited from their father. I got this from my father, but my father was a terrible person. Why do I have this if I despise him so much? There you go. Could have been cool, but you got players that are entitled that don't want to deal with it. Please help. My group is only 3 people, and our game is tomorrow. One person will be missing. I don't want to resume playing without them, and the other players likely won't either. I'm thinking about running a one shot with new characters just for tomorrow. I might even have them play as their regular characters that they prefer. I can whip something together quickly, no problem. However, I'm trying to get people's opinions. I had to fill about 2 to 3 hour slot for two level 4 players. Something is not grand enough to want to go off and play it beyond 3 hours, but at the same time rewarding enough not to feel like a waste. Please and thanks. I love you. Um, Sorry, Jared. I don't feel the same, but thanks. Anyway, um, random tables. See what happens. Opinion, do you think it's a fun strategy to get one of your players to hit? Oh, yeah, this one. This is primarily my problem with the whole narrative driven game philosophy. Opinion, do you think that it's a fun strategy to get one of your players to hit the floor unconscious in a major fight? I think it makes it the scenario a bit tense, more intense, and it forces teamwork. Also, target a different player during each scenario. So, what? Like, I commented on this. This dude edited his post because of the way he worded it before. Because I remember reading this a couple days ago. The way he worded it before is he would just make somebody fall unconscious just for driving the story. And my response was to the effect of, if because I'm guessing he's playing 5e. So if it's not a sleep spell, and if they didn't hit 0 HP, why would they fall unconscious? I absolutely despise that. Like, I can think of no better railroad and no better definition than to arrest player agency and just make somebody fall unconscious. If you're deciding during the fight, great. It should be a consequence of the fight. If it's not a spell, it's a stupid idea that just needs to stay in your head. Okay. And final one before I get off, because I'm getting kind of hungry and I want to get some food. I have a problem with a player. I run a hardcore, heavily restricted game with homebrewed rules. I made sure to have session zero to make sure everyone understood the mod and could ask questions while they made characters. Everyone agreed to play this mod, but this player will not stop complaining every time she gets hit with one of the new rules. They all have copies of the rules, and I've suggested she read through it again, decide she wants to keep playing. I'm just tired of arguing with her every time she wants to do something that far exceeds our raw. What would you do? Kick her. Okay. Now here's the deal. I'm not the best with remembering things, and because I know that other people are not the best at remembering things. I don't expect everybody. Okay. This is a very small book. Okay. This is 140 pages, and they're very small pages too. So, like, if you've never had the book, there it is. Like this, like this is like I have Far Away and Never by Ramsey Campbell in the other room, and it's a collection of short stories, swords and sorcery short stories by Ramsey Campbell, who is an excellent author, by the way. I love his stuff, and it's about the same width, same thickness as that, only longer and a little wider because it's an actual book. I don't expect everybody to have that memorized. Okay, I don't expect anybody to have all the rules memorized. And I have a sheet of house rules, and I'll probably pull that out here in a little bit on what is what gets done, what and where, and blah blah blah. Uh, so I've always had this policy of, if you're not sure, simply ask me. If you're not sure if you can do something, simply ask me. And if it's not in the rules, I'll rule on it then and there, and we can make an official rule afterwards. It's not a big deal. Okay, but so if she forgot a rule, and she's just like, "Oh my bad, I'm sorry, I forgot." That's fine. I wouldn't kick a player over that. But if somebody's going to be antagonistic at every twist and turn of the rules don't allow that, kick her. Kick her. She, nobody's entitled to play your game. Nobody's entitled to your table. I don't allow every Tom, Dick, and Harry to come to my table. I'm pretty uh, uh, discriminatory about who I allow people to play my games. Um, I pick and choose who I want to play with and who I don't. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. Uh, this is a player I wouldn't have at my table for very long. So I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to get off. Okay. I want to find a good one that I haven't looked at yet. Skipping 5th edition, don't care. Okay, here's an interesting one. Okay, now a lot of this is 5e crap, but we can explain this. We can make it system agnostic. Sorry for the long post, and if it's hard to understand, I did my best to make it clear, but give proper information. I just need some creative help. The player, level 3 monk, that was cursed with were rat lycanthropy. She and I talked it over, and she wanted to embrace it to the point of gaining a character flaw, basically. So I started having her make wisdom and charisma saves against certain urges, such as feeding on unalived party NPC, which she saved against. And she was an Oscar-worthy role player with it. This is her first time in a D&D campaign. Was only like her 8th session ever, but she dove into it and explored her character's feelings and hope of hopelessness and fear of becoming a monster again. It's fine. There you go. I like that. Um, I always allow that. Like somebody who gets lycanthropy doesn't die. If it doesn't turn them into an undead, the player can still control them. I wanted to give her a choice to stay a lycanthrope and use it with extreme control per the blood hunter class. I know of that class, but I don't know much about it. I know it's a critical role thing. Giving her a way to make it work or to be cured of it. Yeah, and I have in my games, cure disease would cure lycanthropy. So you need a cleric. So I introduced a member of the Order of the Lycan, an older elf were tiger, who said there was an option, although it was a hard one, to tame the beast and use it to fight darker creatures. Okay, I like this idea. My player jumped at it and got a level in Blood Hunter. We had just leveled up to 4, so I let her retcon the level in Monk and take it in Blood Hunter instead. Okay, I can understand that. My problem that I'm asking for help on is I think I played the older Blood Hunter in a contradicting way by having her tell the character to go ahead and cleanse herself of the were rat lycanthropy to be given a different one when she's ready. Their little Blood Hunter. Okay, on. Let me see if I understand this right. Play the older Blood Hunter in a contradicting way by having her tell the character to go ahead and cleanse herself of the were-rat lycanthropy to be given a different one. Different one what? When she's ready at 3rd level of Blood Hunter. But I'm not sure why the Blood Hunter would tell her to get rid of it, especially since she is planning to get lycanthropy again. I had the Blood Hunter say something about this is why I would have done away with the Blood Hunter altogether. I would have just homebrewed something. I would have just done away with the Blood Hunter class altogether. Had the Blood Hunter say something about since this character had lycanthropy once, she was changed in some irreversible way. So even if she was cleansed, she wouldn't be the same, and so the best course of action would be to set about taming it. But it seems like a weak reason now. I don't think it's that weak of a reason. I think you can have a verisimilitude. Like if I became a werewolf and then I was cured of being a werewolf, like I definitely wouldn't be the same anymore afterwards. I don't believe I would be. I'm sorry. I'm getting some stuff out of the way because I really don't need this charger. I did think of ways she could be changed. Like anytime she makes a saving throw against the curse of lycanthropy again, she does so with disadvantage, but that hardly seems like a good enough reason to make the whole switch to Blood Hunter. I thought about maybe giving her traits of the shifter race from MOM, but that would then need there to be a lot more shifters around, and there really isn't. So I don't think that's a good. How, homebrew something, homebrew something, homebrew something, homebrew something. Do away with the blood hunter class altogether. Homebrew something. You're trying to make something that works for a popular internet show work for a very specific situation in a role playing game. It's not going to work. Homebrew something. Give her druid again, or make her a druid again, and just take some things here or there and just homebrew something. I think I may have subconsciously used this blood hunter to push her to get rid of it until there were clear rules how to handle it, because I didn't find a whole bunch on how to handle a character already having lycanthropy and making it the first two levels to be inducted into the Order of Lycan at third. All it said was that if they weren't already cursed with lycanthropy, then they would be exposed to it when they reach the appropriate level. When they reach the right level, they get the new shape change ability that replaces their old one. But what about until they reach that level? And what about the damage immunities that lycanthropes possess? I already had it figured that I would likely take control of her character on nights of full moons, or rather give her the prompts on how to act according to her new nature, but she's trying to work towards taming it. Does she only receive the damage immunities when she lets it take control? And if when she lets it take control, or if it takes over, should she have to make high DC wisdom or charisma saves to not lose control or regain control until she gets the new shape change feature? I also thought about having the older blood hunter be a sort of ask forgiveness rather than permission antagonist, and maybe introducing this character to the blood hunter was a way to give the character her specific strain of lycanthropy and try to indoctrinate the character into her own sect of the order. But any opinions? Okay, so do away with the blood hunter altogether. You don't need it. It's a very specific class from a very popular internet TV show that does not lend itself well to specific backgrounds in the campaign world you're trying to create. Do away with it. It's not going to work. Um, put her stuff back into classes. Like, understand you're probably using Beyond. Okay, fine, but that's the problem. This is actually why I like pencil and paper stuff, because like you don't you don't need a computer program to tell you whether or not something is going to be possible in the game. Whereas if you're using Beyond, like you're restricted to the mechanics that are allowed by the classes and stuff in the program. So do away with the Blood Hunter. I would have, and if you're using digital, do away with digital. This would have been better off in like a totally homebrewed world, because yeah, like I like the idea of the character being a lycanthrope. Um, so yeah, it's you would have been better off letting your creative wings um, 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 unfurl rather than rather than limiting yourself to whatever specific supplement in class you decided to shoehorn in. But as it is, let's. I know I keep saying one more, but we are going to do one more. We are going to check out our boys at Christian D&D group, Christian D&D community. We're going to check them out real quick before we leave because I want to see decent takes, not hot garbage takes. Would you rather DM a party of chaotic murder hobos or chair a church board meeting? Chair a church board meeting. I've sat in on those meetings before. They're boring, but they're over with. Howdy, faithful fantasy gamers. I have an offer for pastors, priests, vocational ministers like myself. I'd like to run a Monday one shot episodic. Okay, that's an advertisement for somebody. Uh, builds, don't like builds. Okay, here's an interesting one because I see it come up all the time. Has anyone used God as a deity in D&D? If so, what names did you give him? What is domain? What is in hierarchy? Personal opinion. Okay, and Gygax was kind of the same way with this. I understand that with concepts of good and evil, uh, role playing and fantasy borrow a lot from Christian ethics in order to give a kind of standard of what is evil and what is good and righteous in the world. I understand that. At the same time, I'm also not very comfortable with putting the Almighty in a fictional game world. Like it just feels wrong because now you have to apply mechanics to him and this, that, and everything else. And we're talking about an all powerful, all seeing, all knowing being, and he exists in the real world, and you are trying to shoehorn him into. And I understand why you want God to permeate every bit of your life, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would think you're better served by creating a deity that takes certain elements the from from the Christian uh, ethics and morality, like borrowing certain things and maybe terminology and doing that instead. You don't have to put Jehovah into a campaign. You don't need to. Okay. This is not allowed, I understand, but quick question: what would you say to people who say that playing D&D goes against the Bible? They don't know what they're talking about. This is normally something you see with the fundies that like bought into everything Jack Chick related. Um, it doesn't go against the Bible like at all. You're not actually casting spells. You're not. You're playing a game of pretend. And in fact, there's several instances in the Old Testament where the Hebrews are trying to make military plans and they're using what could be considered an ancient form of wargaming in that they have like miniatures on a table on a map. I'll look that up for you guys later. Talk about it, but that's just a little bit of biblical knowledge throw in. Um, Wargaming has always been a thing, and role playing, while to some degree is very recent, at least in success, playing pretend has is as old as the imagination of man. So it doesn't go against the Bible. There's nothing strictly against it, and I live by the mantra of if the Bible is silent on it, it's not sin. I am. I was complaining about being hungry earlier, and here I am, just still kind of just chilling and doing this still. Somebody went to Gen Con. Good for them. I've never been. People looking for groups. People looking for groups. Oh. So here's a tough one. This week, one of my best friends, who was also one of my players, died. I had just introduced a scenario where they were caught in the outside fringes of a blast that exploded their tavern. I'm now planning on having his character die in the blast, which he would have been happy about, as the quest he needed to go on was quite difficult. It also works well with the entire campaign, as they cannot resurrect him without finishing his quest. I know the popular idea is to just retire a character, but this was the type of end my player wanted for his character. He had several backups, but I wanted him to try to get out of his back burner comfort zone. He was doing well too. For all who have lost a player, how do you get through session where you say goodbye to their character? Okay, so I obviously have not dealt with a player passing away, so I'm no expert on this field. I have ideas of what I would do, but until that situation comes up, I'm going to remain silent on that because that's a rather touchy subject. I've had players leave through life stuff happening, and a couple of people have left because it wasn't exactly they wasn't meshing with the group, or they didn't like the feel of the game, which is fine. They don't have to. Um, I've always told them, well, keep your character sheet in case you want to come back. You always have a chair. If they were a good player, they were a good person. Um, you have a chair here, so don't throw away that character in case you want to play them again. If you end up losing them, we'll let you roll a new one. But yeah, normally they get retired. Now, I don't know. Now that I think, because I do have something I do want to say. Heaven forbid, if I ever had a player that passed away between sessions, um, retiring the character, probably not. Having the character pass away peacefully or something like that would be fine. Um, I would think. I understand this situation. The tavern exploded. It's like, boy, that was a bad timing. But yeah, like I would probably just. I understand. This is kind of why I put rules on resurrect, because obviously some people would want to shatter the verisimilitude with, why can't we just resurrect them? Well, uh, I would rule it that if the soul is happy in the afterlife, or if the soul had to undergo like absolute torment, which this comes down to the character, not the player. Like if they played like a character that was like really bad and crappy to everybody, and was like a criminal or something like that, well, it's eternal torment, unfortunately. And try not to say anything bad about the player. The player was just playing the character how they want to. But I don't know. Yeah, that's a situation I've never found myself in. I don't think there's an easy answer to that. But I guess I'm gonna get off here. I'm gonna get myself something to eat. Um, Basically, I guess before I sign off, if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts or depression, uh, please contact somebody and talk to a specialist, talk to a friend, talk to whoever. And if you think you know somebody who has suicidal thoughts and depression, um, don't be afraid to reach out. Your phone call can actually make a difference. You never know. It's always that one phone call. I've heard people. I've never had it said to me. So, but I've heard people say that that one phone call really, for whatever reason, kind of convinced them, because it's when they think that they have that total privacy where nobody's going to bother them. That's when they make the unfortunate decision. So, if you or a loved one are struggling with such things, reach out, get in touch with these organizations like the American Suicide Prevention Foundation. My buddy Chris Stringer still working with them, I believe. Um, of course, always support your charities. I'm wearing my uh, shirt for children, uh, so because I believe in helping kids. So um, also support St. Jude's Children's Hospital and Shriners. Shriners is also another good one. Um, I just normally recommend St. Jude's because it's a name everybody already knows. It's probably the easiest to donate to them. Um, but Shriners is a good one too if you want to go through Shriners. Um, and I guess as I'm getting ready to get off, um, as always, guys, take care. God bless. I'll see you on the other side. I'm hoping to be more active in the next few months. Um, so life stuff still, but it ain't the worst thing in the world. Um, but thank you guys, and hey, again, I appreciate all the support I've had. I appreciate all the feedback I've ever gotten and stuff like that. And I realize this was a 2 hour long video, so I'm not exactly expecting a lot of people to really have chimed in or check this out, but you never know. But as always, shout out to guys, Fred, Steve, um, uh, Ray, Retro DM Ray. Check him out. I've started also talking to Loki's Lair, which is another OSR channel. Um, started talking to him. More recommended channels, Questing Beast. I love his channel too. Of course, Bandits Keep Daniel Norton, he's cool, and and Seth Skorkowski. I watch him a lot, even though he's more like a Call of Cthulhu guy. And I do say Cthulhu. I don't say Cthulhu like a barbarian. Um, what else? Shout out to my players: Brian, Zach, Carl. I believe the dude who played Dirk is coming back. I don't know his real name. I think he's coming back whenever my hiatus is over, whenever I have everything straightened out and lined out. Of course, uh, my other players in the other group, Donnie, Jose, uh, mm, Lord Vader. I never did know his name. Another Zach, Brad, which is my brother, and I play with him in person. Um, Ben is another one. Um, and my other guys that I played with over Signal, um, guys I've been friends with for years, and I always wanted to play D&D, and I'm like, well, here's a way to play D&D. I can run it for you, and this is old school rules, and it's cheap and free. So Justin, Jared, Josh, Lane, Mike hasn't played in a long time. Come on, Mike, get back on it. Brian has never played with us. He's always told us to understand when because you had to know Brian to understand. Uh, he's a meme lord as well. Um, yeah, and of course Brad, he also plays in that game too. And then of course acknowledge the support and the love from my wife and my kids, Sarah, Timber, Addie. They, you know, work a lot for them, and trying to get us a good place in town, for the time being, because this is not going to work out. So, but all things, and of course, glory to God in the highest, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm going to try to acknowledge Him more as I get ready to sign off on stuff. If you don't like that, well, not mad about it, I guess, or come back for the home team. If you got a problem with somebody expressing their religious beliefs, you got deeper issues than anybody else. But as always, guys, take care. God bless. I'll see you on the other side, whenever that has to be.